A website migration is literally moving from an old architecture or design to a new one. It would be where there's some significant technological or design change or copy change on the site. Cool. So the first, probably the biggest problem that we have to deal with is maintaining authority. Authority's got to do with largely about the quantity and quality of links coming into your site and what influence those have on your search engine rankings, and then obviously your traffic and leads. So what often happens is when a new site's launched, you've got a new series of pages, and on the old site there were pages on your site where links from other sites were coming into and passing what we call link juice or authority around your site, and which Google perceives as an indicator of a site that should rank or has value. So in getting the old version to distribute this authority to the new version, we need to set up redirects, or redirects need to be set up from page A to page B. During migration, this is often either ignored or left to the last minute, and what you often see is a sort of drop in rankings and a drop in traffic. So setting up your redirects and just ensuring those links, those external links, are all pointing to valid and existing pages as best as possible. Okay, so another big consideration that I see a lot of migration or developers missing through migration is ensuring the mobile version of the site's correctly optimized. Google's now next year launching their mobile first index, which will mean they're going to use your mobile version of your site as their primary version that they're going to or indicator to use on how to rank both your mobile and your desktop version. So it's vastly important that the mobile version, number one, is crawlable and indexable, and number two, satisfies the user, according to mobile-based practice. So, this often gets ignored, but developers need to test on their staged version, the mobile version, 3-4 times as intensely as their desktop version, because that's really what Google's going to be using as the reference point. Okay, and then an obvious one, but one that often gets left to the last minute, is tracking. Google Analytics tracking code, Google Tag Manager tracking code, AdWords tracking code, any other tracking code that you would had on your previous site. And not just having those set up across your site, ensuring all pages are tracking and have the tracking code running, but actually ensuring all your goals within analytics are still valid. So, if you're creating new forms and thank you pages on your site, ensuring those are all set up within the new, within analytics on launch of the new, or before the launch of the new edition. So indexation is really just ensuring that all of your pages are being crawled and Google's storing them in their index correctly. So there's a few considerations here. One is sitemaps, so ensuring your XML sitemap, the one that Google uses to get a full view of your site, is up to date, is representative of all your new pages, and is submitted to Search Console upon launch. Good to have an HTML sitemap for users, an additional source of internal linking, and then ensuring that your news pages are all being submitted to Google Search Console, which would force them into the index. And then, just keeping an eye on the volume of pages in the index. That's very important. There might be some crawling issues that are preventing Google from crawling some of your new pages, so that's very important. Anyway, one more consideration, also excluding any pages using the no index tag that are, are undesirable to have in the index, such as thank you pages. This often gets missed. So if people complete a form, they hit a thank you page or confirmation page. You don't want searches hitting that page directly because it's going to rack up unnecessary goals in your analytics account. The fifth point I've got here is content variance, and this is something I'm seeing right at the moment with one of our clients, where they've had a massive site with lots of blog content, and they took the opportunity of migrating to reduce their content and cut it down and shrink it down, which is fine. Often you will have a lot of outdated content on your site especially blog content, that's no longer applicable. So that's all good, but what you need to do is ensure, number one, that you have a clear idea of what that old content's ranking for and whether that's still valuable rankings that you want to maintain into your new site. And then looking at the best way to condense that into possibly longer, bigger, newer pieces and redirecting those old posts into the new ones, or providing a short summary to say that this post no longer or has been updated and the new version is here, and you provide an internal link from page A to page B, which is often a good way. Page speed, this is something that gets missed or left to the last minute all the time and can rack up a huge number of development hours. So your designer or developer who's recreating your new site should be testing your page speed on various tools all the way through the design and development process, because there are often some optimizations that need to happen on the site that sort of can be in conflict with new design technologies and these sorts of things. So keeping an eye on the amount of plugins that are used, if you're using a WordPress account, for instance, or a WordPress platform, making double sure that your images are all optimized, losslessly compressed wherever possible, as much as possible. The mobile version is fast. Testing it on your phone, testing it using Google Pagespeed Insights. There's various other speed testing tools out there, such as Pingdom, that you can use. But just go nuts. Use everything possible, because this is going to become a huge factor next year when Google launches its mobile first index update. And then a couple of general points, so less technical. Timelines. You need to put a buffer period of about 2 to 3 weeks for the SEO team to really do a pre-launch audit and go through all of the best practices, ensure the site's, number one, maintaining the integrity of the rankings that were there before, and that the developers have enough time to respond to any recommendations that are being made. Post-launch audits, when your site's actually within the index, and there's a huge amount of testing that needs to happen there before starting any new SEO initiatives and projects. You really got to ensure that Google's indexing the site correctly, the authority is being maintained on the new site. Users are, you're tracking user experience constantly to make sure that users are engaging with your content in the right way, that all forms are working, that all tracking is working, all these things. Okay, so benchmarking. Sounds like a simple point, but also often overlooked. Run your ranking data across all your devices, across all your locations. Get as much data as possible on your current site's ranking. What's influencing your traffic? What's sitting behind your traffic and your conversions? And analyze it in detail. And as the site's being brought closer and closer to the launch version, re-look at that data to ensure that that ranking potential is being maintained all the way through. And then on post-launch, run all those checks again, and we want to do. You want a clear comparison 1 week out, 2 weeks out, 3 weeks out, to make sure we're not missing any. There's no gaps in the strategy. If there is a decision to reduce content or reduce pages, that needs to be signed off by the client to ensure that they can live with compromises they've made to changes to the copy and design on the site that may affect ranking potential. So, yeah. Cool. Thank you very much for listening. I really hope this helps you through your migration. If you have any other questions, there's obviously a lot more than what I've covered today. But if you have any other questions, just drop us a comment, and we'll be happy to give you some further advice.